Jim set us some creative tasks, mainly improvisation tasks. They range from like improvising without looking at each other, then a task was to spiral around each other, and what he did with all of the tasks is he actually just set a camera and we just played around with this idea that he gave us for half an hour to an hour, and he took home the footage, looked at all the tasks back and found particular moments in each improvisation that he liked, and the day after we had to learn it, which was quite a challenge. Because obviously when you're improvising it kind of just feels natural at that time, so then we had to relearn some of the things and they didn't feel quite so natural after that.
There were bits that never even made it, bits that he liked that never even made it into the stage show because we couldn't recreate those moments. There were grips and there were body positions that just did not make sense when it came back to trying to relearn it, and we hadn't found the journey in and out.
So in the original creation process, I had to really plan the days very carefully, to go in with an idea of what tasks I was going to give the dancers. So normally the night before or sometimes in the morning I would spend an hour or two or more kind of preparing and thinking about what I was going to do for that day in the studio. So for me the day is always longer than the 10 till 6 time that the dancers are doing. Rehearsals will always begin with a warm-up. So in the creation for Within Her Eyes, I would lead that warm-up. It would involve a lot of strengthening, stretching. We would do a lot of yoga, but also making sure the body was really supple and warm and ready to meet the demands of that piece. The difficulty with Within Her Eyes was because Aaron is lifting Lisa the whole time, he would get quite fatigued. So I'd have to manage the time very carefully. And sometimes I would step in and work with Lisa, and I would improvise with her to give Aaron a rest as well. When we rehearse Within Her Eyes, we normally just do half-day rehearsals because it's such a physical piece and it's very, very fatiguing, especially for the male dancer, because he's lifting the whole time, that it means doing full days almost isn't really worth it. It's really important that they practice going through the whole thing, especially for working on the flow of the piece, also to make sure they have the stamina to do it.
To start with, it was purely a matter of the physicality, being able to get through it, because it's such a challenging duet physically. And obviously the idea is for me not to touch the floor at all for the full 17 minutes, so that almost became like the main priority in the beginning. That was like, we can't touch the floor. But then over time, performing it became more than just the physical, and we started to actually be able to tell a story, which is what it's about, but we felt like we were able to move over from just the physical side of it more into an emotional place. And
it was survival at first. It was survival to get from beginning to end, and then once we became comfortable with that, and was then a place where we could talk more about why were we looking away, what was the connection between us. The emotive drive for it became something more precious than the movement itself.
Once the piece was made and on stage, it doesn't kind of end there. Through every time we're rehearsing it and performing it again and then bringing it onto film as well, I'm always refining it and developing it and finding moments that we can improve. As Lisa and Aaron got more comfortable with the duet, it became much easier for them to do. So suddenly things that had taken quite a bit of time, they could now do much quicker and much easier. So I found myself kind of inserting more material as we went on, especially in Flow 2.
Flow 2 used to feel really quick and we couldn't fit everything in, and now it almost feels like, oh, we've got too much time, like we could even do more now.
I think it's really important that they felt like it was a struggle to get through, because then that kind of comes across to us as an audience. So yeah, I'm always refining and finding how I can give them a little extra challenge
Last night when we filmed Floor 2 in the quarry, it brought back a little bit of that excitement because the floor was so risky.
Well, we couldn't see the
We
floor.
couldn't see the floor, so it was kind of that uncertainty again. I'm hoping that it's kind of brought it back to,
Awesome.
hopefully. The choreography itself stayed exactly the same from stage to filming, but it looked quite different because obviously the camera angle, you can move around us and you can see different angles and different shots. So even though the choreography stayed the same, you're not just viewing it from the front. So you can actually see different angles. You can get really close. You can get
highlight
more
the bit
intimate
that you
feel.
want to see. You can highlight the grip. You can highlight the look.